Okay, so picture this. You're meeting some new people, maybe out somewhere casual, and someone just asks you straight up, what's your blood type?
Yeah.
Not like, are you donating blood, but, trying to figure you out.
Huh. That sounds a bit odd, maybe.
Yeah.
Here, anyway.
Right. But apparently, in some places, especially East Asia, Japan, South Korea, it's not really a medical thing in conversation. It's kind of a personality shorthand.
It really is fascinating, isn't it? How something so, biological ABO types, discovered for purely medical reasons, transfusions and all that, gets turned into this cultural tool for sizing people up.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're digging into today. This
Mhm.
whole idea that your blood type A, B, AD, or O is somehow connected to your personality traits.
Where it came from, why it caught on so strongly in certain cultures.
Yeah, especially places like Japan and South Korea.
Yeah.
And, spoiler alert, we'll look at whether there's any science to it. Basically, we want to pull out the key stuff from the material we've got on this, pretty interesting cultural habit.
And it comes with these really distinct stereotypes, doesn't it? Like A types are supposed to be the careful, meticulous ones, maybe a bit reserved.
Uh-huh.
B types are the creative, sort of free spirit types, but maybe a little selfish.
Okay.
ADs are the rare ones, the quirky, unpredictable types, sometimes called geniuses, sometimes just oddballs.
Because they're less common.
Right, exactly. And O-types. They're meant to be the bold, outgoing, charismatic leader types.
Yeah, I read this anecdote. It really stuck with me.
Yeah.
New employees at some company in Japan, right? For an icebreaker, they grouped them by blood type.
Seriously.
Wow.
Yeah.
And apparently the O group got super loud right away, joking around, taking charge. The A group was like quietly planning things.
Following the script.
Totally.
Yeah.
And there was an AB person who felt completely like the odd one out, which, just fit the stereotype perfectly for them. It's just such a clear example of how ingrained it can be.
That really illustrates it, doesn't it? How it works as this kind of lens, even for something as simple as an icebreaker.
So where did an idea like this even start? The sources point back to Japan in the 1920s.
Yeah, that seems to be the origin point. A Japanese professor, Takeji Furukawa, published a paper suggesting this link between blood type and temperament.
But it wasn't exactly, like, solid science, was it? More of a theory based on observation.
Pretty much. Looking back, it really lacked what we'd call empirical evidence today. It was more his interpretation, his hunch, than, rigorous study. But the idea clearly struck a chord.
It really did. It started gaining steam in Japan.
And then by the 1970s, it just exploded, apparently.
Yeah, I saw mentions of hit books selling millions.
Oh, absolutely. Books with titles like Blood Type, Your Personality Blueprint were massive bestsellers. It became part of the mainstream conversation. You'd see it on TV shows, analyzing famous people's personalities based on their blood type.
And it even crept into hiring, asking on job applications.
Yeah, the sources mention that happened historically. Some companies genuinely seem to believe it gave them some insight into how someone might fit into the team or what their character was like.
Wow. Choosing who to hire based on blood type. That really shows how deep it went.
But it didn't just stay in Japan, did it?
No, it spread quite a bit through East Asia.
Right, you see it pop up strongly in South Korea, Taiwan, parts of China too. And each place kind of adapted it in its own way.
So, big South Korea.
Well, in South Korea, blood type compatibility in dating became a really big thing. Apparently, some dating apps even let you filter people by blood type.
Filter your dates by blood type. Okay, that's commitment to the idea.
It shows how much weight people put on it for relationships, right?
Yeah.
Believing certain types just fit better together.
And Taiwan. Anything specific there?
Taiwan's interesting because they have a higher percentage of O-types, maybe around 44% or so. And that seems to feed into this common idea there that O-types are the really outgoing ones, the life of the party.
So it becomes this easy reference point in conversation.
Exactly. It's like a shared cultural code,
Yeah.
especially maybe in cultures where group harmony and, smooth interactions are really valued. It gives people a quick, non-confrontational way to label or understand interactions.
A kind of social lubricant, almost.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's often less about being strictly accurate, more about connection and having a shared way to talk about people.
Okay, but we have to bring it back to the science. For all this cultural buzz, is there anything to it, biologically?
Yeah, this is where it gets, pretty clear-cut. Scientifically speaking,
Okay.
no. There's just no credible evidence connecting your ABO blood type to your personality traits.
Carl Landsteiner's discovery back in 1901, that was all about medicine, right?
Yeah,
Making transfusions safe.
precisely. His work was revolutionary for identifying those antigens on red blood cells. It was about immune responses, preventing your body from attacking transfused blood that didn't match. Absolutely crucial for medicine, but it has nothing known to do with, how introverted or extroverted you are.
And scientists have actually looked into this connection, haven't they? Especially where the belief is strong.
Oh, definitely. There have been numerous studies over the years, particularly in Japan, trying to find correlations. They've looked at everything: creativity, leadership, even athletic ability, trying to link it to blood types AB, or O.
And what do they find? Anything.
Nothing conclusive, really. The studies just haven't found any reliable, statistically significant links that hold up. The scientific consensus is pretty firm. Personality is shaped by this incredibly complex mix of genes, environment, experiences, not the type of sugars on your blood cells.
So if the science is so clear that there's no link, why is this idea still so popular? Why does it stick around, especially in certain places?
That's the really interesting part, I think. It taps into something psychological, maybe even universal. Humans seem to, well, we like categories, don't we? We like ways to make sense of ourselves and other people.
Like Myers-Briggs, or horoscopes even, things people use everywhere.
Exactly like those. Blood type theory functions in a very similar way. It offers a simple, easy-to-grasp system. And in those cultures we talked about where social harmony is maybe emphasized more, it provides this often playful way to talk about differences.
So saying, oh, he's a B-type, that's why he's so spontaneous,
Mm-hmm.
isn't necessarily a scientific claim.
Not usually, no.
Mm.
It's more about building connection, maybe gently explaining behavior within a framework everyone understands. It greases the wheels of social interaction.
A social shorthand.
Yeah, or social glue, like you said earlier. It helps conversation flow.
Okay, let's quickly look at how blood types are actually distributed globally. The sources had some stats on that, and it might connect to these stereotypes.
Right, the distribution isn't uniform. Japan is fairly balanced, maybe around 40%, 30%, 20% B, and 10% AD. That mix might be why they have such distinct ideas for each type.
In other places.
South Korea and China tend to lean a bit more O-type, maybe 35%. Vietnam, too, around 33%. Then you look at parts of Europe, like Denmark or Switzerland, and they have more A-types, closer to 40%.
And AB is the rare one everywhere.
Pretty much, yeah. Usually only 5 to 10% of people are AB. And that rarity definitely feeds into that stereotype of them being unique or different.
It's interesting how the numbers could sort of reinforce the cultural ideas. You mentioned O-types being seen as leaders in Japan.
Yeah, there's definitely that narrative. They often point to famous figures like Konosuke Matsushita, the founder of Panasonic, supposedly an O-type, as proof.
But that's just anecdotal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Picking examples that fit.
Oh, completely. It's confirmation bias 101. And, those claims you sometimes see online, like half the world's billionaires are O-type. The sources we looked at found zero actual data to back that up. Success comes in all blood types.
Which leads us nicely into pop culture, because this isn't just talk, it's like everywhere in the media, right?
Oh, it's deeply woven in, especially in Japan and South Korea. Think about manga Japanese comics. It's super common for character profiles to list their blood type right alongside their height and birthday. It's a quick way to signal personality.
Video games, too.
Yep, some video game series like Persona reference it, and then there's actual merchandise.
Like what?
Planners designed for organized A-types, or maybe art kits for creative B-types. There was even a big hit song in Japan back in the 90s called Blood Type Love.
A song about dating based on blood type. Wow.
Yeah, it was huge. And you see it in South Korea with K-pop, too.
How so?
K-pop stars often share their blood types publicly, in profiles or fan Q&As. Fans talk about it, sometimes linking an idol's perceived personality to their type, like RM from BTS is an A-type, and fans might playfully connect that to his thoughtful image.
It really becomes part of the shared culture, doesn't it? A common reference point, like that story someone heard at a night market in Taiwan.
Oh yeah, linking the vendor's friendliness to being O-type. It just shows how it filters down into everyday observations and snap judgments.
It's just there as a way to explain things.
A ready-made explanation, exactly.
But we should touch on the downsides, too. It's not all just fun and games and K-pop profiles, is it? There can be negative consequences.
That's a really crucial point. When these cultural beliefs get applied too rigidly or in the wrong contexts, yeah, there's a darker side. We mentioned earlier those historical cases of companies in Japan actually using blood type in hiring.
Which is straight up discrimination.
Absolutely.
It's-
Judging someone's job suitability based on a pseudoscientific personality theory linked to blood type, that's harmful and unfair. Thankfully, less common now, but it shows the danger. And the material also mentioned that urban legend about certain blood types being more common among criminals.
Yeah, that sounds dangerous.
It is. It's a completely baseless stereotype, but it highlights how these ideas can be twisted into prejudice.
Definitely moves beyond harmless fun into something problematic.
It really underscores why we need to distinguish between cultural beliefs and, actual facts.
So let's pull back for a second. Why does exploring this whole phenomenon matter? What's the takeaway from this deep dive?
Well, I think looking at these blood type theories gives us this really valuable insight into how different cultures try to make sense of people, how they grapple with personality differences and build social connections.
It's like a specific cultural answer to a universal human question.
Exactly. It works like other categorization systems, personality tests, astrology, whatever. It provides a framework. Its popularity isn't about scientific accuracy, it's about its social usefulness. It helps start conversations, build rapport, create shared stories about why people are the way they are.
So for you listening, maybe the point is seeing how concepts we think of as purely medical can take on totally different meanings in other cultures, becoming tools for social understanding.
And speaking of blood types having deeper stories, there was that really interesting bit in the sources about the indigenous Ainu people of Hokkaido in Japan.
Oh yeah, and what was that?
They apparently have a significantly higher percentage of AV blood types compared to the general Japanese population.
Ah, why is that significant?
Well, it ties blood type not just to these personality myths we've been talking about, but to actual genetic history, population movements, the deep ancestral stories that shape different groups. It's a reminder of the real biological and historical layers underneath the cultural ones.
That's a really powerful point. Blood types tell stories about migration and ancestry,
Mhm.
not just personality quizzes.
Right. It adds another dimension entirely.
Okay, so maybe here's a final thought to leave you with.
Mm,
How do you categorize people, yourself included? What systems do we rely on in our own lives or culture? Maybe it's those online quizzes, maybe it's zodiac signs, maybe professional labels, or something else entirely.
what are we using to make sense of human differences?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are those systems we gravitate towards? Tell us about what we're looking for. Is it always about finding the scientific truth? Or are we sometimes just looking for a good story, something that helps us connect and understand the world and each other a little better?
Something to chew on.
Definitely. We'll leave you with that. And hey, if you want to see some of those blood types distribution maps we mentioned, head over to our website. We always post extra bits and pieces there related to our deep dives. Keep thinking, keep questioning, and we'll catch you next time.